colleagues, men and women of the Labor Party. We meet on Gadigal land in the spirit of respect. And if Labor earns the privilege of governing, we'll listen to First Nations and we'll work with First Nations. We'll establish a process to negotiate a treaty between the government and Aboriginal people. A treaty, an honourable basis for our reconciliation with the First Peoples. At the outset, I want to say that all of us in the Labor Party stand with those workers who will have their penalty rates cut tomorrow. Cuts made possible by the Liberal and National parties. My colleagues and I stand with all of you in the fight to restore their penalty rates, and as I committed to you last year, a state Labor government will legislate to protect the penalty rates of all workers on state awards and agreements. Friends, I come before you at this, our final annual conference before the New South Wales election to be held on March 23 next year. I can report that our organisation is ready, our candidates are in place, that state Labor's in its best shape in over a decade. 3 years ago, the conventional wisdom, Mike Baird was set to reign for 1,000 years. This weekend, well, we're all here ready to fight for the future of the state. Mike Baird, he's on a beach somewhere. Probably taken some work with him. He'll be putting the finishing touches to the corporate social responsibility section of the NAB annual report. But wherever he is, I can tell you he's very relieved that he won't have to campaign for re-election against Kayla Manane and the team. Since 2015, we've bludgeoned our opponents at by-elections, defeated their greyhound band, exacted an end to their hated policy of forced council mergers. We have them on the run over stadiums. We've seen off a premier. This tired government, now in its 8th year, on its 3rd premier, 3rd deputy premier and 4th treasurer, waiting to be cut down. Well, we'll finish what we've started. Together, we will put an end to this thoroughly bad Berejiklian government. We'll end it on March 23 next year. We will, and we must. The future of the state depends on it. Because you cannot trust the Liberals and Nationals with our schools, TAFEs and hospitals. Their approach, sell-offs, sackings, a Sydney Stadium splurge. There's fewer public schools in New South Wales today than when this government came to office. 120,000 students in demountable classrooms, a $570 million school maintenance backlog. An elective surgery waiting list of almost 78,000 patients and hospitals not adequately staffed. Labor has very different priorities to our opponents. An unprecedented school building program. Every new public school with childcare or before and after school care facilities on site. All new schools exempt from local infrastructure charges. And only Labor will air condition every public school. Delegates, I've said it before. I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. Schools before stadiums. If you want better schools and TAFE rebuilt, Vote for the party whose branches are full of teachers, not bankers. Don't vote for the party whose treasurer's proudest boast is that privatisation is the golden key. If you believe education's the golden key, vote Labor. And vote Labor if you believe in public health care. Labor has a plan for health. Hospitals properly staffed, elective surgery waiting lists cut, new nurse walk-in centres, and tackling the scourge of ice head-on with our plan for detoxification and rehabilitation centres attached to our public hospitals. Our opponent's record over 8 years? More than $50 billion worth of privatisations. Power prices up by over 20% this financial year alone. Charges at the Port of Newcastle more than doubled by the new owners after privatisation. The West Connects Road next to be privatised. And you know what that means for motorists. Tolls, tolls, tolls. The public always pays more. That's why I've made Labor's privatisation pledge. No privatisation of water, no more electricity privatisation, no privatisation of public transport, and no privatisation of our great public hospitals. Delegates, in March next year, the sell-offs stop. Now, the Liberals and Nationals told a very simple story at the last election. They promised that electricity privatisation would pay for essential infrastructure. What have they delivered? Every home and business is paying much higher electricity prices. And motorists have to pay new tolls on old roads. There's a place for toll roads, but the M4, that's not a new road. The M4 was paid for, and so the toll was removed when Labor was last in government in 2010. And now the Liberals have brought back the M4 toll. A mere 7-kilometre single-lane widening will be paid off in full by the middle of next year. Yet the Liberals' toll will be in place until 2060. Many households in Sydney's West now spend more on tolls than on fuel. The Liberals' toll is an unfair tax on Western Sydney because it's designed to subsidise roads in entirely different areas, like Ms Berejiklian's Northern Beaches megatunnel. This toll makes life much harder for the families who use the M4. People who work the hardest and complain the least, the very people the Labor Party exists to represent. We've represented them, we've fought for them. I remember as a young volunteer campaigning on a commitment to lift the Liberals' tolls on the M4 and M5. Bob Carr fought on this issue in opposition, wrestled with this issue in government, and from this very stage, at this very conference, in this very address, made his great announcement in 1996. He said then, "We intend to keep the faith. We will introduce a system that honours our commitment, the M4-M5 cashback." It was prudent, fair, far-sighted, and made a real difference for the people of Sydney's West. Labor at its best, on the people's side. Well, we won't stop fighting. I don't accept the Liberals' $2,400 a year tax on Western Sydney motorists. They've reintroduced the toll, but they deny motorists cashback. That's the ultimate betrayal of Western Sydney motorists. Labor won't accept it. We never will. We're on the side of Western Sydney's motorists. People like Neil. Neil and his wife Helen are raising 2 children under 5 in Werrington, near Penrith. Neil works in logistics in the eastern suburbs. He used to travel on the M4, but now this unfair toll would cost him over $2,000 a year. It's money he can't afford in a family budget already stretched to the limit. So now Neil has to get off the M4 at Church Street, Parramatta. It takes him over 2 hours to get to work. It's not right. That is why, delegates, I announce today a Labor government will restore the M4 cashback for the families of Sydney's West. Private car users will be entitled to a rebate for their M4 toll payments. A simple arrangement between a Labor government and private car users. You pay the toll, send us the bill, we pay you back. No changes will be made to the current discount on vehicle registration costs for motorists spending over $1,300 a year on tolls. That scheme will remain. And on the M5, like the M4, the Liberals want to extend the toll out to 2060. Well, I commit that under Labor, the M5 cashback will remain for as long as a toll remains on the M5. Labor's M4 cashback will give back up to $193 million each year to Western Sydney motorists. It'll be fully funded by savings measures that tackle the Berejiklian government's massive waste. These will be fully outlined by Shadow Treasurer Ryan Park well before the election campaign. Let me turn to public transport. I made clear Labor's top public transport priority is the Western Metro, a new fast rail line between Westmead, Parramatta and the Sydney CBD. It's the Liberals' last priority, but Labor's first. We'll reallocate billions of dollars from Ms Berejiklian's Northern Beaches tunnel and from the conversion of the existing Bankstown line. That's how we'll deliver a new Western Metro years before the Liberals could. And we'll also do the planning for future extensions to the Western Metro. And we'll partner with the Shorten Federal Labor Government in funding the first stage of the North-South rail link from St Mary's to Western Sydney Airport and Badgerys Creek. We will connect rail to Western Sydney Airport for the first time for the airport's opening. Delegates, let me turn to regional New South Wales. In May last year, I announced we'd support the transfer of the state share of the Snowy Hydro Corporation to the Commonwealth on two conditions. First, that it be guaranteed to remain in full public ownership. And second, that all of the proceeds, 100% of them, would be invested in infrastructure projects in rural and regional New South Wales. 100%, not a dollar less. The Nationals, they argued against this. They argued for only 30% of the Snowy proceeds to go to the regions. So we campaigned on it for 9 months, and in February they backed down and adopted our policy. Well and good. Now, New South Wales has received $4.1 billion from the Snowy Hydro transfer. These funds must be spent wisely on transformative projects that will leave a lasting legacy in rural and regional New South Wales. The Snowy Hydro scheme was established by Chifley's government with the active support of the McKell and McGirr New South Wales Labor governments. And in 1949, Prime Minister Chifley told the Commonwealth Parliament that the Snowy scheme provides not only for the provision of vast supplies of new power, but also for an immense decentralisation of industry and population. I stand here and pledge to you that these, the Chifley principles, are the principles that will guide a future Labor government when it comes to investing the proceeds of the Snowy Hydro transfer. We will adopt the Chifley principles. All of the $4.1 billion must be spent on infrastructure projects that pass at least one of the following three tests. First, the creation of jobs and growth of industry in rural and regional New South Wales. Second, the decentralisation of population. And third, the generation of new and renewable energy supplies. True to Labor's finest traditions, these are our Chifley principles. Delegates, our great state can't afford 12 years of Liberal and National government. 2 terms of wasted incompetence, bad enough. 8 years of the wrong priorities, long enough. What do you want New South Wales to look like in 2023? If the Liberals and Nationals are allowed to govern for 12 straight years, think about what will happen. More privatisations? They've only just begun. 12 years of Conservative government will mean that for the first time since the Great Depression, there won't be one public bus route left in the whole of New South Wales. They've already privatised the Hunters public transport. In Sydney, Inner West buses that have run for 80 years, privatised from tomorrow. The other routes will follow if our opponents receive another term. And if you think you're ripped off now by 51% privatised electricity companies, wait until you pay a bill for 100% privatised power. 12 years of Liberal National rule will mean the 100% privatisation of our electricity network. And Sydney Water, gone. Hunter Water, gone too. Our state's public hospitals, for sale signs out the front. Goulburn, Maitland, Wyong, Shellharbour, Barrel, all of them and more. Another term of Conservative government, 12 years of it. Campbelltown Hospital upgraded by 2023. Work won't have finished. Their current budget tells us that. And Tweed Hospital, work won't have started. But if they're re-elected, in Sydney's eastern suburbs, a new stadium, a glimmering private pleasure dome rising majestically over Moore Park, a monument to the power and influence of the SCG Trust. New South Wales in 2023, after 12 years of Liberal National government. Premier Andrew Constance announces the Sydney Light Rail will be complete within just another 2 years. And the court cases are about to finish. He'll launch a competition to name the trams. And Transport Minister Felicity Wilson, fibbing Felicity, she'll cut the ribbon on the new Northern Beaches tunnel while people in Sydney's west still have to wait the start of construction on a new rail line. And Treasurer Gareth Ward I rest my case. They don't deserve 12 years. They don't deserve 12 years. Waste, incompetence, wrong priorities, privatisation, delegates, it falls to us to stop them. So, as they risk being buried by the mounting mess of failed policies and failing politics, our opponents have thrown the switch to desperate. 7 years of cuts and sell-offs, and in the final roll of the dice, they want us to believe last week it's all changed. The last refuge of these scoundrels, a pretend spend on schools and hospitals, an auction on health and education. Well, delegates, if you want to fix schools, TAFEs and hospitals, vote for the party that sees spending on schools and hospitals as an investment. Labor will put schools and hospitals before stadiums. We'll put schools and hospitals before stadiums. We'll stop the privatisation scams. We'll tackle the cost of living with the M4 cashback. Delegates, next March we'll submit our Labor priorities for the judgment of the people of New South Wales. We, Labor, will deliver a fairer New South Wales. I'll see you on the campaign trail. I know we'll get this done. Thank you.